All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again, keeping things rolling with yet again one of the smartest people on all of the internet, at least Vikings Twitter, our man, the most wholesome person in all of the Vikings ecosphere, Nick Olson. How you doing? How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm enjoying the May weather. It's really nice outside, and got through the draft. Vikings did great, so this is like almost like a vacation mode for football. Except now I get to dive in on all these guys we drafted, which are a lot of fun. So
All
doing
right,
good. How about you?
let's do that. I'm doing great. I'm in a shoe. I'm walking around the neighborhood again. Power walking now that I'm out of the walking boot. Things are good. Life is great. I cannot complain.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, man. Well, I had Miles and Yinka on last week to talk about the hot takes flying around about Justin Jefferson and how he'll make us forget Stephon Diggs. But there was another pick that happened in the first round that had people equally, maybe more, depends on who you ask, as excited as the Justin Jefferson pick. So I wanted you to come in today, talk to me a little bit about Jeff Gladney. Why should I be so excited about the addition of Jeff Gladney to the team?
Yeah, I love Jeff Gladney. I was really hoping he was the guy they went with when they picked him. I think he has one of the highest ceilings of any cornerback in this draft. But I also think he comes with very high upside as well. But I think he's somebody who can come in, step in day one, and play at a starting caliber level, which most rookies kind of suck when they first start out. I think Jeff Gladney, he's a little on the older side. He's he's got over 1,000 coverage snaps at TCU, and he did extremely well year after year after year there. So I think he's somebody who can step in and do really well right away. But he's also got like the versatility. He's got the athleticism. He's got the size, maybe not the height, but he's got the wingspan, the arm length to be able to come in and develop into something really special long term. So I'm really excited to see him. His tape's also a lot of fun to watch. So I'm hoping to put together like a longer form article, but happy to talk a little bit about what I've been seeing from what I've been watching so far. So
Let's talk about the measurables here for this a little bit, because one of the things that I hear a lot when Jeff Gladney is talked about is the fact that he's undersized. And because people keep mentioning the fact that he's undersized, a lot of the talk right now has been that he potentially be going into the nickel role, or that he and Mike Hughes may be competing for that role. But you just mentioned that, while he may be short in stature, he maybe not as undersized as we think. Could you go into that a little bit deeper?
yeah, so he's 5'10". So normally when you see somebody, a cornerback playing who's 5'10", you think, okay, well, he's probably more of a nickel. But Gladney played, I want to say, like over 75% of his snaps on the outside at TCU. That's a little different in college, but he was basically their outside corner for most of his time there. And I think that's where he also profiles best at the NFL level. I think he has the versatility to play him inside if you want him to, but I think the height isn't a big concern to me. I tweeted out, I think last week, that he went up against Denzel Mims, who's 6'4". He's kind of a prototypical size possession receiver with 4.34 speed on top of it. And Gladney they had a really good battle, but Gladney had 4 pass breakups in one game against Denzel Mims, 6'4". Against Colin Johnson, another wide receiver if Mims went in the second round, I think Johnson went in the 5th round. So these are NFL caliber receivers Gladney was going up against. Colin Johnson is 6'6", Gladney 5'10", so almost a foot shorter than him, but he had 3 pass breakups, including one crucial one in the red zone. So he was all over him, shut him down. So the height really doesn't worry me at all. That's not what concerns me about playing him outside. I will say, if you're going to list some of his weaknesses, and there aren't many because he has a very complete, well-rounded skill set, if you want to list one of his weaknesses, he did clock in at only about 190 pounds, which is a little on the slimmer side. So I'm not really concerned about his ability to contest catches, because that's kind of, here to list maybe one thing he's best at other than his foot quickness and his fluidity. It would be just how well he is at contesting catches. Every reception to him is offensive, and he hates them. Doesn't want to give up anything, and he's fantastic. I think he led the FBS in pass breakups over the last 2 years of any cornerbacks. If he's not one, he's two. So he's really good no matter what the size of the height of the receiver he's going up against at breaking up passes. The lack of sort of body armor, I guess, shows up when he's in the stems of route. His arm bar doesn't really slow guys down. He gets thrown off at the top of routes, or he gets pushed around. So he's more of like a gnat. He's a little pesky. He's gonna stay in your business, but he's not gonna be Xavier Rhodes. He's not gonna be your power forward. That's not his game. That's not how he wins, but he does win in other ways. So I think he has the versatility to play inside, but I think he can definitely win and live on the outside same way he has and dominated at TCU for the last few years.
Yeah, well, talk to me about that a little bit, because you mentioned Xavier Rhodes and him being kind of that power forward. And a lot of things that I've read about Jeff Gladney say that his game is very physical, that he does like to get in your face. He does like to get in that press man. So if you were going to compare him to a Vikings cornerback for us to have a frame of reference, I guess, is there someone that you could think of that he would really kind of remind you of if you think back to the Vikings, or maybe just someone in the NFL that maybe you could think of that we could think of as a player comp for someone with Jeff Gladney's size, but also, I guess, the aggression in the way he plays the game?
Yeah, if neither of these are perfect comparisons, but I don't really think there's a good comp, at least on the Viking. I mean, he's closer to Mike Hughes than he is to Xavier Rhodes, just in terms of his versatility and he's a very fluid mover. That's the first thing you'll see when you turn on his tape is just he's very electrically quick out of his back pedal, but he's also got the versatility. He can shuffle out. He's very comfortable doing both, the zone turns, speed turns. He'll stick to his receiver no matter what they give him or what the coverage call is, or whether it's zone or man or some sort of match. He's basically always on top of his receiver. In terms of who that kind of comps to, I've seen him comped, and I like the comp to Jair Alexander, who Vikings fans will be familiar with out of the Packers. Just a very sticky receiver, very pesky, gets in receivers' faces, and he doesn't like to give anything up. I've also seen him comp to Darius Slay. I think he's a little closer to Jair Alexander because I think he's a little more versatile, and he's a little more of like a pure man corner. If you wanna just put him on one guy, have him shadow. That's kind of what he did a lot at TCU. Shadowed guys, shadowed Denzel Mims. So I think that's who he can be, but he's just in a little different type of a mold. He's more, he's going to be in guys' business. He's going to be in their faces, but he's not going to overwhelm them and overpower them.
Okay, I like that. So you mentioned a little bit that he maybe can get pushed around a little bit. If you were to think of any other negatives, I guess, do the injuries, like anything, scare you in his profile when you are kind of looking at a player like a Jeff Gladney?
Yeah, nothing really scares me. I think there are a few things that you can say. Here are some stories why he might not live up to the hype. I think the lack of weight does come into play. I think the height, I'm not too concerned about it, just based on how he matched up against taller receivers. Denzel Mims in the 6'4" guy in the second round, and Colin Johnson later on in the fifth round, who was 6'6". I think the height doesn't concern me so much, but there are times where he'll get boxed out, I guess. Or in the red zone, there are guys, who will be able to position themselves at the catch point. Now, Gladney does everything he can to get his hands on the ball, and he's got long arms. Despite his height, he's got, I think 32-inch arms. He's got like 66th percentile arms, despite, 25th percentile height, I guess. So he's still able to contest those passes, but there are a few things that go into his physicality. One, he's not going to be able to disrupt guys along the route stem while they're on their path. That's not really how he wins. Two, at the top of routes, he can kind of get shaken off, or he can kind of get pushed off. He's still developing in his sort of route recognition, so he'll bite on double moves. You'll see that every once in a while. It's not like a big, like, we need to fix this right away, but it is, when he does give up passes, which every cornerback does, one of the patterns you'll start to see is, he does bite on the occasional double move. He can be a hair late breaking on the ball. His movement skills, once he mentally decides, okay, I got to be there, are usually fantastic. And he has some really good plays nonetheless, breaking off from zone, pass breakups where he'll pass off the receiver and then, come down on a flat and break around and break open to the ball and deflect the pass. So he makes really good plays like that. You see the potential. He's also very clearly a very smart player. He's a fun player to watch just because on film he's so vocal and physical, and he's kind of like Linval Joseph in that his emotions really show on the tape. So he'll bark out orders to the other cornerbacks, to the safeties. He'll say, "No, you got him. I've got this guy." And so you can see him. Mentally, I think he's a really smart corner, and it shows in his play. But there are times when he's just a hair late, which I think you can work on. And then you can't really teach the physical skills, and his ability to click and close as soon as he recognizes where he's got to go is top shelf. But there are times when he can be hair late. So those are some of the negatives that stand out. But just the tools he has, his fluid hips, his quick feet. The fact that no matter where you ask him to be or what coverage concept you're calling, man, zone, cover 4, cover 3, cover 2, cover 0, he can kind of do it all, and he does it at a very high level. He's very sticky, and no matter who he's up against, he'll find a way to break up the pass as it's coming in. So I think he's got a really exciting skill set, and there aren't a lot of things that make me think this guy could bust. There are a few things that make me think, well, maybe he'll, if the worst comes to worst, he might just be like a merely mediocre starting caliber corner, but he's still going to be a starting caliber corner, I think, even in the worst case scenario. So, barring injuries or anything, I don't really see the Vikings regretting this pick.
All right. So,
one last thing is he's on the older side. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but he is on the older side. I don't really care too much about that, but he's going to be 23, 24 coming into this season. So compared to a lot of the other cornerbacks in this class who were younger, he was a redshirt senior. So he's a little on the older side. So, and to the extent, he was kind of a man against boys at TCU, that might inflate his production a little bit. I don't think it really hurts him as far as, what his ceiling is. And Timo Risk at PFF has done some interesting works on does how old somebody is when they come into the NFL impact, what their projection is as far as upside, quote unquote. And really, they haven't been able to find anything statistically significant that their wins above replacement, is directly related to how old they are coming in. So that doesn't scare me off. But the fact that, he's not going to be like Danielle Hunter, where he's 25 years old when he gets his second contract, and he's going to be like 28, 29 on the older end for a cornerback, that kind of limits the upside in terms of how big of a gem this could be that we found. So that's another thing. But, these are kind of nitpicky negatives as far as, the pros and cons go.
All right. So on a scale of peak Xavier Rhodes to Asher Allen, how excited should we be about Jeff Gladney in 2020?
Well, I don't know if he has the upside of a peak Xavier Rhodes. I mean, that guy was like 2017 when he was all in Odell's head. Like, I'm not sure he's that, and that's totally not his style of game. But if you think about someone like Jair Alexander, I could see that happening in the next few years, him just being just a really annoying receiver that nobody likes to go up against, who nobody wants, to be shadowed by that guy lining up across from them, because they just know he's going to be in their face all game. He's going to be talking trash. He's going to be getting under their skin, and he's going to be disrupting everything at the catch point. No matter what the route is, no matter what the coverage concept is, he's going to be right there on their tail. So I think that's the exciting upside there. He's a physical guy. He likes to get in the run game too. So I think there's a lot to be excited there in the upside. But as far as will he be, all pro Xavier Rhodes at his peak? I mean, possibly. I don't want to count him out, but I wouldn't set that as, the reasonable expectation ceiling going in.
All right. Well, there it is. Last question. Is Jeff Gladney starting for the Vikings in 2020?
Absolutely. He might even be their number one corner. He's ready to go. All
right. There it is. Well, Nick, as always, thank you for making time. Thanks for coming on. And we'll be looking for that long form article on Mr. Jeff Gladney.
Absolutely.
Thanks, sir. Have a good night.